Yes, my people, it is your boy VRD back with another video. In today's video, I am going to attempt to run you guys through the TVM-430 signaling system that can be found on the Southeastern High Speed DLC, and I believe there's a French route as well in Train Sim World, but I haven't played that before and I can't remember the name of it. I only specialize in UK routes in this game, unfortunately. I don't really venture out into the European side of things or the American side or what any other countries that this game has featured in it. Strictly UK routes only, guys, or for now at least. So yeah, I'm just oh goodness, that was a disgusting voice crack. Wow. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah, as I said, just a brief explanation of the TVM 430 signaling system for anyone that is struggling with it. Again, a video targeted towards new players. The more experienced players probably know a lot more about it than someone who's new to the game. However, like I said with my other video about stopping at stations, you might learn something, so stick around. Just getting set up now. We are due out of here in about 9 minutes time or something like that, so not too much of a rush. Let's get the master key in. Neutral, AWS, acknowledge. Headlights set to the day running configuration. Power is already configured for some reason. Let's just test out our KVB. KVB is okay. Why have we got emergency brake? Is hold on. Okay, that was different. I'm not sure why the emergency brake was in, but alright. Static brake test. Yep, brakes seem to be working perfectly. Let's just test our emergency brake plunges. First one working fine, second one. Second one also working fine. Let's get the passenger doors open. Pop outside, ensure that our headlights are being displayed correctly, which they are. As I always say, brighter headlights shining from the non-driver's side, not so bright LED star lights shining from the driver's side. Did I say that correctly? Non-driver's side, brighter headlight, LED star light, driver's side, which is the day running configuration. Right, return to the cab, and I believe that is everything regarding the setup. I'm just gonna turn on the reading light, I think it's called. Yeah, the reading light that just shines a light. This light up here shines it onto this area here, and it just makes the gauges more visible. Um, Quite helpful when you're going through the tunnel sections. When you're going through the tunnel sections and you haven't turned that on, everything's just pitch black. You can still read the speedometer quite perfectly because it's a light up speedometer. Duh. However, the brake gauge is quite difficult to make out. So if you've ever ran into that problem, just turn on the reading light there. You can have this nice little light shining on this area, as opposed to having to keep the entire cab light on, which is, in my opinion, way too bright. So I'm gonna edit down the video now, and I will catch you guys at the departure time. Right, guys, we are coming up on 30 seconds prior to our departure time. Gonna get those doors closed. I've obviously checked the starter signal as well, displaying the green aspect. They definitely do that before closing the doors. I did it, but I forgot to call it out, so I thought I'd call it out afterwards. Anyway, signal is green, so we can reset our driver reminder appliance. We have the blue interlock light there for the doors, so doors are successfully closed and locked. Selecting forward on the reverser, we're gonna just perform a test of the hill start button there. That is L2 on a PS5 controller. Hold that in, select notch 1 of power, releasing L2. Brake cylinder gauge reading falls to 0, and we're away. Oh, sorry guys, let me turn the HUD back on. The HUD is gonna be necessary in this video. So a lot of the time I drive with it off, but I'm trying to get in the habit of driving with it turned on in my YouTube videos, just to give people a bit of an understanding of what I'm doing with the controls and whatnot. So we're currently in notch 2 of power. Speed limit departing from St. Pancras International is 40 kilometers an hour, which equates to 25 miles an hour. So that is why the HUD says 25 miles an hour. However, in kilometers, which is what we're currently going by, that is 40. The kilometer to mile an hour conversion is a bit awkward at first, but once you memorize everything, it's not even so much of memorizing the calculation, but you just eventually memorize what all of the key speed limits are in miles an hour, and then that's how you get the hang of it. Well, that's what works for me at least. Right, speed limit's going up to 60 kilometers an hour, I believe. And I forgot to do the running brake test, but I'm gonna do that at the top of this hill here. Actually, we'll do the running brake test in a sec, because I need to explain the transitioning into the TVM signaling system. So we're about to see a sign with the words CAB, I think. No, maybe. There it is, just on the wall there. So there was a black board with the word CAB in it, or the letters CAB. That tells us that we are now under TVM signaling. We're now being controlled by the TVM signaling system. You can see on the dashboard there, we've got our little display. It just showed me the number 80 with a black background, but it's now showing 200 with a green background. So simply put it, we need to currently travel at, well, we don't need to travel at 200 kilometers an hour, but the maximum speed limit at the moment is 200 kilometers an hour. So let's accelerate up to that. I'm not going to bother with the running brake test because it's effort. So hopefully our brakes are working. We'll soon find out. And in a second, the TVM display is going to start flashing. A flashing TVM display more or less tells you that you need to prepare to slow down. You're going to have a reduction in the speed limit coming up. I want you guys to also keep an eye on the tunnel walls. They're going to be hard to make out, but at regular intervals you're going to see a blue board with a yellow triangle in it. So you can see TVM display is now flashing. It's gone from 200 to 225, however it is now flashing, and you can see it's now gone back down to 200. We're currently doing 194, so no action needed at the moment. Also, take note of the fact that the display is now being shown in white diamonds. White diamonds tells you that the speed being displayed, it needs to be traveled at by the time you reach the next marker board. So we're going to get some serious braking in. What is a marker board, you might be asking? A marker board is that thing that we just passed on the left there, the blue board with the yellow triangle in it. It's quite hard to make out in the tunnel, but I'll show you one of them when we get outside in a second. You can see display is now showing 130 in white diamonds flashing. So what does that mean, guys? We need to be doing 130 kilometers an hour by the next marker board. which we are now doing. So it's now changed to 100, steady 100. So what does that mean? Because it's in white diamonds, it tells you that it's not the speed limit at the moment, but it will be the speed limit at the next marker board. And because it's steady, it's no longer flashing. That tells us that there are no more reductions in the speed limit after 100 kilometers an hour. I know that's a lot to take in, guys, but just go back, rewatch that little section there. I think I did a good job in it at explaining it, so I hope I did. Anyway, we're now coming up on Stratford International Station, so I'm going to continue braking. That tunnel that we just left there at the tunnel exit, aim to be doing about 80 kilometers an hour coming out of there, and from that point a continuous light brake application will bring you into the platform very nicely. And aim to be doing 50 kilometers an hour on entry into the platform, of course. That equates to 30 miles an hour, which is standard practice across the United Kingdom for platforms that are around 8 carriages long, 8 to 12 carriages long. 30 miles an hour is the speed that you want to be doing. We're looking out for the 6 carriage stop board. Where are you? There it is, coming up here. There we are, perfect. More than perfect. Maximum braking, neutral, door release on the right. So you can see just over there, that is the marker board that I was on about, the blue square with the yellow triangle. That more or less is a signal. If you imagine a signal that shows green aspect, red aspect, double yellow, blah blah blah, just think of these as one of those. And the aspect is, in a way, the speed limit. The speed limit is the aspect. That is the best way to describe it. The speed being displayed here, just think of that as the aspect. So that one there is associated with the other track. This one here is associated with our track. Right, doors are closed. Next station is Ebbsfleet International. Ebbsfleet International, my people. Let's get a move on. So speed limit is currently 100 kilometers an hour. The TVM signaling system will bring you down for the stations, so it will prompt you to slow down when you're approaching a station. However, it won't prompt you to slow down all the way to 0 kilometers an hour. It will only prompt you to slow down to about 100 or so, maybe. So you do still need to somewhat know where the train station is, but it is very helpful because it prompts you to slow down from quite far out. So you will almost be going slow enough to stop on a line of sight thing, but yeah. And speed limit is now 225 kilometers an hour, which is the maximum speed, the highest speed you will travel at on this particular section of track. That equates to 140 miles an hour. So you guys know what the white diamonds means when the speed is being displayed with white diamonds as the background. But you're probably thinking, what's the difference between a green background and a black background? There isn't really a difference. There is a difference that I always forget. However, in terms of driving, you're going to treat them the same. That just simply means the speed that you currently need to be traveling at. If I had to guess, I think the difference is the green background is the maximum speed you're allowed to travel at on that specific section of track. The black background means that is the speed that you're allowed to travel at, but the maximum speed of that section of track is higher. I hope that made sense. Anyway, guys, the speed limit is going to be 225 kilometers an hour for ages, so I'm going to edit the video to the approach to Ebbsfleet International, and then I'm going to run you guys through the station approach procedure again. I know I did it before, but I'm going to try to do it again just to make it nice and easier to understand. So I'll catch you guys in a bit. Right, my people, so we are approaching Ebbsfleet International Station. The TVM display is about to start flashing at us to prompt us to begin slowing down. So it's at that marker board there that we just passed. So we have 225 flashing. That tells us that we can expect a reduction in the speed. At the next marker board, we're going to receive the new speed limit, so 200 in white diamonds. So guys, what does that mean? It means that we need to be traveling below 200 kilometers an hour at the next marker board. And we're currently doing 190, so that is fine. I got the brakes in quite early. I always like to brake nice and early. I normally do a medium brake application when the display starts flashing, and then reduce it to a light brake application after about one signal spacing. 160 flashing tells us that we need to be doing 160 in white diamonds flashing tells us that we need to be doing 160 at the next marker board, and we have a further reduction in the limit. So again, 130 white diamonds flashing, so we need to be at 130 by the next marker board, and we have another reduction after that. Once it stops flashing, that means that there are no further reductions after the next marker board. So steady 100 with white diamonds tells us that we need to be at 100 by the next marker board, but after that there are no further reductions in the speed limit. However, that being said, Ebbsfleet International Station is not far from here at all. So now, because of route knowledge, the amount of times I've driven over this route, I know that from this point, so literally from that marker board there, the 100, a continuous light brake application will bring you into Ebbsfleet International on a very nice braking curve. Oh look, we got a nice 465 going over the top. That's really good timing. I've never seen that before. Anyway, yeah, a minimal brake application from that point will bring you into Ebbsfleet International on a nice braking curve. That is the low level platforms only. With the high level platforms, I think you need to brake slightly harder because it's a different speed limit and the platforms are a bit closer, I believe. I'm not even too sure. Also worth mentioning that if you're in a 6-carriage train, you want to be doing 40 kilometers an hour or lower on entry into the platform. Don't do 50 because the stopping position is only halfway along the platform, so you're not going to stop in time if you're traveling that fast entering the platform. It's a little bonus tip there. Where is the stop board? It always jumps out at me at this particular station. I think that is it coming up there. Just trying to put that in the window. Oh, close enough. Perfect. Maximum braking, neutral, door release on the right. Another key fact about the TVM-430 signaling system, something that you need to keep in mind that is very important. You can only receive a reduction in the speed limit or a prompt to slow down at a marker board. However, an increase in the speed limit or a prompt to speed up can be given to you at any point along the line. That is something that is very important to keep in mind. It just helps you understand how the signaling system works and whatnot. Let's get the doors closed. So always keep that in mind, guys. You're gonna see on the final approach to Ashford International, you're gonna see what I'm talking about if you pay attention. you're only gonna, like I said, you're only gonna be given a prompt to slow down or a reduction in the speed limit at a marker board. It won't just be randomly given to you at any point along the line, unless it's an emergency brake request. That is the only time you're going to get that randomly. Other than that, it's going to be given to you at a marker board, as opposed to a command to speed up, an increase in the speed limit, which can be given to you anywhere, which you guys will see in a second here. So speed limit is currently 100 kilometers an hour. Soon going up to 130. It can catch you out departing from Ashford here, so just be careful. You can go into full power and forget that the speed limit is only 100, and then exceed 100 and get an emergency brake application thrown at you. That is the punishment for breaking. Speed limit's 225 now, but that is the punishment for breaking the speed limits when under the control of the TVM-430 system. You just get an emergency brake application thrown at you. However, there is a 15 kilometer an hour leeway. So if you go back and watch the approach to the last station that we were just at, so Ebbsfleet International, if you were paying enough attention, you would have realized that I was entering the new speed limit zone, traveling slightly higher than the speed instructed for a bit. Say for example, what was it? 130 for example, we got commanded to slow down to 130. We made it to the next marker board, and I was still above 130. I was a couple kilometers an hour above the speed limit. That is because there is a and nothing happened. But that is because there is a 15 kilometer an hour leeway. So also keep that in mind. It just helps you drive a bit more comfortably. You don't need to be on the edge so much, braking too defensively, because you're going to end up losing time. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about at the next station at Ashford, because I feel like I'm not making too much sense at the moment. Okay, my people, so the TVM display is now flashing at us once again to prompt us to begin slowing down for Ashford International Station. So I know I normally advise that you brake as soon as it starts flashing, but in this case this is kind of unique because we are going uphill. So because we're going uphill, slowing down is a lot easier than it would normally be. So for that reason, I didn't start braking until we reached the second marker board. So the marker board after the display started flashing. So the prompt to slow down to 200, that is where I started braking. So we're now well below 200, so I'm releasing the brakes. You can see how much the upward gradient increases our ability to slow down. Flashing 160. We are currently at 169, so I can just coast it out for a bit, although I believe we are soon going to enter a downward gradient, so I will need to be on the brakes a bit. Yeah, we're now gaining speed, so I'm going to jump back on the brakes there. Just a nice minimal brake application. You can see the marker board coming up there. So you saw the marker board that we just passed, and I was doing 164 kilometers an hour passing that, but nothing happened. And like I said, that is because of the 15 kilometer an hour leeway that we have. So if I was over 175 kilometers an hour entering the 160 zone, that is when the train would take matters into its own hand and dish me out with an emergency brake application. And we're coming up on a 100 kilometer an hour marker doing 130, so let's get some serious braking in there. Now releasing the brakes because we are down to 100. We're currently on a very steep upward gradient. We've now got 80 in diamonds flashing, so That tells us that we need to be doing 80 kilometers an hour at the next marker, and we've got a further reduction after that. So remember guys, a flashing display means that the next display will have white diamonds. In other words, you can expect a reduction in the speed limit, because that is what diamonds means. Diamonds means be doing this speed by the next marker board. So we're on a very steep downward gradient now, so I have minimal braking in, but if it seems like we're barely slowing down. And now you can see we have, oh okay, so it was 3 zeros, 3 red zeros just a second ago. However, it's now changed back to 80. So 3 red zeros would mean, as you can imagine, you need to be stopped by the next marker board. So we're just coasting it out now. We're currently doing 70 kilometers an hour. And again, 3 red zeros. So jumping back on the brakes there. So we need to be stopped by the next marker board. However, there isn't actually a marker board, it's instead a signal, because we're now at the end of the TVM-430 signaling area. So the boundary when exiting the TVM-430 area is marked by a signal as opposed to a marker board. And the 3 zeros disappeared. If you're paying attention to the signal here, you would have noticed that the signal was red at first. So while we had the 3 zeros there, the signal was red. So you can see that the signal was synced up to the display that we had on our dashboard. As soon as the signal changed, the display on the dashboard changed as well. And now that we are past the signal, we are now under conventional signaling once again, like we were at St. Pancras, and the TVM display on the dashboard has disappeared. So if those 3 zeros did not change and the signal remained red, as you can imagine, we would have had to stop at the signal. I know I've said that quite a few times, but just had to make it sink in. Just acknowledging these AWS alerts. Platform 5. So yeah guys, I hope that gave you a bit of a better understanding of the TVM-430 signaling system. I do quite like it. It's a fun little signaling system to drive under. I remember saying that they need to employ something like that all across Europe. I think I said that not across Europe, sorry, all across the UK. I remember saying something like that in a forum when I was younger, and then everyone started moving hurt, like talking about how the signaling system that we currently have works and all that. And then they're just getting their egos all hurt because it's not a UK signaling system and everything. But I do quite like it. And now we have ETCS, which is quite similar to TVM-430. They're not, they are quite different at the same time, but there are quite a lot of similarities. So we have ETCS that is now being rolled out across the United Kingdom. So yeah, I am quite happy to see some more of this in-cab signaling going on. It is quite scary at the same time because it's just like with anything new, like there's just going to be mistakes and stuff like that. But I don't want to speak anything bad into existence, but I don't know, technology scares me sometimes. It's a bit unsettling. um but yeah, hopefully it's just a smooth transition into this new ETCS and cab signaling and stuff with no major faults that somehow made it through testing undetected. Anyway, let's shut the cab down. Get out of here. Just deactivate the safety systems there. You wouldn't do this in real life, obviously, but because it's a train simulator, and you have to. Well, you don't have to in train simulator as well, but it's for the best. Trust me. Okay, and that concludes this little tutorial run through. I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Constructive feedback and criticism is more than welcome in the comment section below and is highly appreciated. If you'd like to further support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. I will catch you guys in the next one. Love.